Welcome to Monk's Temple. Tonight, we embark on a gentle journey into the heart of what is, into the quiet space between thoughts, into the generous emptiness that holds all of existence. If you're ready to settle in, to let the day soften at its edges, feel free to find a comfortable position. Perhaps you're lying down, the weight of your body fully supported. Or maybe you're seated, with a gentle straightness in your spine. However you are, it is perfect. There is nothing to achieve here, only a space to inhabit. Before we begin, if the stillness we cultivate together here is a refuge you wish to return to, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. It is a simple act, like lighting a candle in a window, a signal to yourself that this space of quiet understanding awaits you whenever you need it. Now, let your awareness drift gently to your breath. Not to change it, but simply to notice it. The air moving in, cool. The air moving out, warm. Each breath is a tiny lesson in emptiness. Your lungs fill, they empty. They are useful not because they are perpetually full, but precisely because they can be empty, ready to receive life again and again. This is where our exploration begins, not with complexity, but with this simple, physical truth. Emptiness is not a void to be feared. It is capacity. It is potential. It is the necessary pause that makes the next note possible. Our first story comes from a place of vast, dry silence. The high desert plateaus of Arizona. In a pueblo nestled against red rock cliffs, there lived a woman named Lena who crafted water jars from the local clay. These were not decorative pieces, they were vessels of survival in the arid land. Her grandmother had taught her, and her grandmother before that. The secret, passed down in whispers at the grinding stone, was not in the design painted on the outside, but in the shaping of the void within. Other potters in neighboring villages prided themselves on thick walls, heavy bases, elaborate animal shapes. Their jars were impressive, solid. They won prizes at gatherings. Lena's jars were simpler, lighter. To an untrained eye, they might seem fragile. A terrible drought settled over the land for 2 growing seasons. The springs ran low. Every drop of rain, when it miraculously fell, was precious. The villages held a meeting at the dry riverbed. Each potter was to bring their finest jar, and the one that could best preserve the scant rainwater would guide the community's crafting through the crisis. The other potters arrived with their magnificent, heavy jars. They spoke of the clay's density, the glazes that sealed perfectly. Lena brought a simple, unpainted olla, rounded like a melon. The test was simple. Each jar would be filled with a measured amount of water, sealed, and left in the central plaza for 7 days under the relentless sun. The one with the most water remaining would be chosen. The jars were filled and set in a row. For 7 days, the sun beat down. On the 8th morning, the elders unsealed each one. They measured. The thick, elaborate jars had lost significant water. The clay, dense as it was, had slowly absorbed the moisture, like a subtle, thirsty sponge. The beautiful glazes had trapped heat, creating a tiny oven inside. Finally, they came to Lena's simple olla. They poured the remaining water into the measuring bowl. There was barely any loss. A murmur went through the crowd. "How is this possible?" asked a potter from the north, holding his own depleted jar. "The walls are so thin. There is no decoration to seal it." Lena picked up her jar. She turned it upside down. A small, perfect hole was visible in the very center of the base. A gasp went up. A hole? You brought a jar with a hole. It is broken. No, Lena said softly. Look at the shape. She held it up. The jar's interior was not a perfect sphere. From the wide mouth, it curved down, then narrowed gently before flaring out again slightly at the very bottom, around that tiny central hole. The water does not touch the hole, she explained. The shape holds it above. The hole is not for letting water out. It is for letting the desert in. She placed the jar over her head, demonstrating how it was carried. When I walk, she said, the air moves through this hole. It flows up through the empty space inside the jar, around the water, and out the top. The water is cradled in a moving breath of cooler air. The sun heats the outside, but the breath inside, this tiny wind through the emptiness, keeps it cool. The water is not trapped. It is, resting in a space that remembers the wind. She looked at the gathered people. You made jars to resist the desert. To fight the sun with thickness. But the desert is stronger. I made a jar that welcomes the desert. That gives it a path through. The emptiness inside is not just a container. It is a partner. It works with the heat and the air, not against them. The hole is an invitation to emptiness, and that emptiness protects what is held. The elder, an old man with eyes like cracked river mud, nodded slowly. You did not make a jar of clay, he said. You made a jar of wind. You shaped the emptiness first, and the clay just forms its skin. Lena's way became the way. And they survived the drought. This story holds our first core teaching, emptiness as functional intelligence. We are conditioned to see emptiness as lack, as something to be filled, conquered, or silenced. We build thick walls against the world, walls of busyness, of possession, of opinion, believing that solidity is strength. But true resilience, like that of the water jar, often lies in intelligent emptiness. It is the shock absorber in a car's suspension, the space that allows for impact without breaking. It is the silence after a heartfelt statement that lets the meaning sink deep into the soul of the listener. In your own body, consider your joints. The knee, the shoulder, they are not solid bone fused together. They are precisely engineered spaces filled with synovial fluid. That empty space, that gap, is what allows for movement, for grace, for locomotion. Without that emptiness, you would be a rigid statue, incapable of navigating the world. A personal memory surfaces. Years ago, I worked in a cluttered, noisy open-plan office. My desk was a fortress of papers, trinkets, screens. I felt perpetually frazzled, my thoughts bouncing off the visual noise. One weekend, in a fit of desperation, I cleared it entirely. I mean, entirely. Just the bare wood, a lamp, a single notebook. On Monday, my colleagues thought I was quitting. But sitting at that empty desk, I felt a physical sense of relief in my chest. The visual emptiness in front of me created a corresponding mental space. For the first time in months, I could think a thought from beginning to end without it being interrupted by a stray object claiming my attention. The emptiness of the desk wasn't barren, it was fertile ground for clarity. The Buddha often used the metaphor of the lute. The strings must be tuned, not too tight, not too loose. The music arises from the tension, yes, but also from the hollow body of the instrument. If you filled the lute with sand to make it solid, the music would die. The potential for the beautiful note depends on the empty chamber that gives it resonance. This principle is echoed in the scientific concept of requisite variety from systems theory. For a system, be it an organism, a mind, or a community, to be adaptable and survive in a changing environment, it must have at least as much internal complexity and potential, often held as unused capacity or slack, as the challenges it faces. That slack, that unused potential, is a form of functional emptiness. A schedule with no margins, a mind with no downtime, has no capacity to handle the unexpected. It shatters under pressure, like a thick, solid jar cooking its own water. So we begin by reframing emptiness in our own lives. Where are you trying to be solid, resistant, and full? In your schedule? In your home? In your conversation? What would it feel like to introduce a little intelligent emptiness, a wind hole, into that area? Not as a loss, but as a strategic creation of space for cooling, for movement, for preservation of what truly matters. Let's feel this in our bodies now. As you breathe in, imagine you are filling not just your lungs, but all the spaces within you. The spaces in your joints, the chambers of your heart, the vast caverns of your skull. And as you breathe out, imagine you are emptying completely, becoming as light and hollow as Lena's water jar, letting the cool wind of awareness flow through you. Your body is not just a solid thing. It is a wise, breathing emptiness, shaped to hold the water of your life. We'll continue with another perspective on this essential emptiness. As you settle back into your breath, notice how each cycle is a complete world, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then, the pause. That subtle, almost imperceptible stillness at the turn between the out-breath and the next in-breath. That pause is a doorway. It is pure, unclaimed potential. It is from this silent place that the next breath is born, fresh and new. Not an obligation, but a gift. Our last story spoke of emptiness as intelligent space. Now, let's listen to what this space makes possible. We travel from the dry desert to a place of constant, thunderous sound, the great waterfall country of Zambia and Zimbabwe. Near the great waterfall known as Śūnyatā, the smoke that thunders, there lived a man named Thabo. His role in the village was unique. He was not a hunter, a farmer, or a healer. He was the listener. When the elders had a difficult decision, when the river seemed to speak in a strange language, when a child was born under an unusual star, they would go to Thabo. He would go to his special place, not at the roaring lip of the falls, but in a hidden grotto behind the curtain of water. The villagers believed he could hear the voice of the river spirit there. Young men, envious of his quiet prestige, would try to emulate him. They would brave the spray, sit in the grotto, and strain to hear a divine voice. They returned only with ringing ears and headaches, reporting nothing but the all-consuming, mind-numbing roar. They decided Thabo was a fraud, using silence to seem wise. One young man, Kofi, more curious than arrogant, approached Thabo directly. "What do you hear in the noise, old man?" "I hear only noise. It drowns everything." Thabo looked at him with patient eyes. "You go to the wrong place to listen. You sit in the roar. I do not listen to the water." "Then what?" Kofi demanded. I listened to the stones, Tabo said. Seeing Kofi's confusion, Tabo gestured for him to follow the next day. He didn't lead him to the hidden grotto. Instead, he took him to a place far downstream, where the river widened and ran smooth and shallow over a bed of countless, flat, water-smoothed stones. Lie down, Tabo instructed. Put your ear to a stone. Kofi, skeptical, did so. With his ear pressed against the cool, hard surface, the world changed. The great roar of the falls was still there, but it was transformed. It came through the stone as a deep, complex, vibrating hum. A symphony of lows and mids. And within that hum, Kofi could hear other things, the higher, chattering click of pebbles rattling in a current eddy, the soft, sandy shush of sediment settling, even the faint, almost musical ping of one particular rock being struck by another far away. The water speaks in many tongues, Tabo said, kneeling beside him. But its true voice is not in the shouting at the cliff. Its true voice is in how it touches everything else. The stone is empty of its own sound. It is dense and silent. Because it is empty that way, it can become a perfect messenger for the water's voice. It does not add its own opinion. It just vibrates with the truth of what touches it. He helped Kofi up. Behind the falls, in my grotto, the roar is so great it becomes a kind of silence. It empties my mind of my own thoughts. My mind becomes like that stone, dense, still, and empty. And into that emptiness, the subtle vibrations of the world can travel. I do not hear a spirit in the water. I hear the villages worry in the way the wind changes pitch as it crosses the dry fields. I hear the truth of a man's story in the slight tremor of his voice, which is carried on the mist into my cave. The emptiness in me receives the full picture, not just the loudest part. Kofi understood. He had been trying to listen with a mind full of ambition, full of the desire to hear something spectacular. His mind was like a cluttered room, and the roar was just more furniture thrown in. Tabo's practice was to first create a vast, stone-like emptiness within himself. Then, every vibration, the subtle, the quiet, the important, could be felt with perfect clarity. The loudest sound wasn't the most important, it was often just the one drowning out the rest. This story reveals our second teaching, emptiness as receptive clarity. We often think of listening or perceiving as an active process of grabbing information. We focus on the loudest voice, the brightest light, the most urgent demand. We believe a busy, full, analytical mind is a smart mind. But true wisdom often arises from receptive emptiness. Think of a satellite dish. Its function is not to generate signals, but to create a specific, empty shape, a parabola, that can gather faint, distant signals from space and focus them into a coherent message. If you filled the dish with concrete, it would be solid, strong, and utterly useless. Its power is in its emptiness, its perfect receptivity. In your own nervous system, this happens at the synaptic gap. An electrical signal reaches the end of a neuron and then, there is a space. A tiny, fluid-filled emptiness. The signal must be translated into chemicals that float across this gap to trigger the next neuron. That gap is not a flaw in the design, it is the essential space where choice and modulation occur. It's where neurotransmitters like serotonin or dopamine work, where medications act, where the sheer brute force of an impulse is tempered and refined. The emptiness of the synaptic gap is what allows for nuance, regulation, and ultimately, the rich complexity of thought and feeling. I recall a time I was learning to identify bird songs. I would walk into the forest, guidebook in hand, trying so hard. I'd hear a cacophony and get frustrated, my mind cluttered with names and patterns I was trying to match. One morning, exhausted, I just sat on a log and gave up. I stopped trying to identify. I just listened. I emptied my mind of the checklist. And in that emptiness, the soundscape unfolded. I didn't just hear bird song. I heard the liquid, questioning trill of a thrush from the wet ferns, the cheerful, repetitive gossip of chickadees in the pines, the distant, haunting cry of a hawk riding a thermal. By emptying my mind of what I thought I should hear, I began to hear what was actually there, in its breathtaking, layered detail. This is the practice of mindfulness in a nutshell. It is not about filling your mind with more techniques or mantras. It is the gentle, persistent practice of emptying it. Of creating a Tabo-like, stone-solid emptiness amidst the thunder of your thoughts. You are not trying to stop the thoughts, the roaring water. You are changing your relationship to them. You are learning to become the silent stone that feels their vibration without being shattered by their noise. From that place of emptiness, you can perceive the subtler textures of your experience. The quiet sadness beneath the anger, the flicker of hope under the anxiety, the gentle hum of simply being alive underneath the day's drama. Let's feel this now. For the next few breaths, don't focus on the breath itself. Focus on the space around the breath. The stillness that contains it. The silent awareness in which the sensation of breathing arises and passes away. Imagine your mind as that deep, downstream stone. Let the sounds of your environment, the distant traffic, the hum of appliances, the sound of my voice, wash over you like water. Don't name them. Don't follow them. Just let them vibrate against the stillness of your attention. Notice how the stillness itself is not disturbed. It holds all the sounds without being any of them. This receptive emptiness is not passive. It is the most active form of intelligence. The intelligence of the clear mirror that reflects without distortion, of the still pond that shows the sky perfectly, of the empty satellite dish that can receive whispers from the edge of the known universe. We will explore a different facet of this emptiness, how it defines not just perception, but the very nature of things, in our next part. Let your awareness soften further. Let go of any effort to understand or follow. There is no test here. Just rest. Feel the weight of your body, the gentle rhythm of your heart, a soft, persistent drum in the cave of your chest. That beating is not a solid thing. It is a space opening and closing, a hollow chamber filling and emptying, life moving through a vessel. You are not a statue. You are a process. A happening. Our last reflection centered on emptiness as receptive clarity, the still stone that hears the river's true song. Now, we turn to a more fundamental question. What are things, if they are not the solid, separate objects we believe them to be? Our story comes from the ancient, forested mountains of China. Master carver Lin was commissioned by a great monastery to create a statue of Guanyin, the Bodhisattva of compassion, from a massive, ancient cypress log. The abbot had selected the log himself. It was said to have grown where a sage had meditated for 40 years. For weeks, Lin did nothing. He would sit with the log in his courtyard, drinking tea, observing it at dawn, at noon, in the rain, under the moonlight. His apprentices grew anxious. "Master, when will you begin?" The abbot expects progress. Lin would simply sip his tea and say, "I am waiting for her to show me where she is hiding." One apprentice, bold and talented, grew impatient. One night, he took his own tools and began to carve. He had studied Lin's techniques for years. He would surprise his master with a magnificent start. He worked feverishly through the night, carving elegant, sweeping lines for robes, a graceful incline for the head. In the morning, Lin found him. The apprentice stood proudly before the now marred log. Lin did not get angry. He looked profoundly sad. He walked around the log, touching the deep gouges. "You have carved what you know of guanyin," he said softly. "But you have not met this guanyin." He pointed to the grain of the wood. "See here. This knot, this imperfection. This is not a flaw to be carved away. This is where the tree endured a storm. The compassion of this statue must include that endurance." He pointed to a gentle, natural curve in the log. "This is not a mistake of growth. It is the tree's slow dance toward the southern sun over a century. The compassion of this statue must have that patience, that turning toward the light." He placed a hand on the apprentice's shoulder. "You see a log to be turned into a statue. I see a statue waiting to be released from a log. My job is not to impose a form. My job is to have enough emptiness in my own mind, to empty it of my ideas of beauty and divinity, so that I can see the form that already lives within the wood. I must become empty to be filled by its spirit. Then, my chisel is not carving. It is simply brushing away the wood that is in the way." Lin had the apprentice fill the deep cuts with resin and sawdust. Then, he began. He worked not from a drawing, but from his long stillness with the log. He followed the grain, incorporated the knot into the folds of the robe, let the natural curve become the gentle forward lean of the figure offering mercy. When it was finished, the statue did not look carved. It looked born. Visitors to the monastery would weep before it, saying they felt not that they were looking at a representation of compassion, but that compassion itself was looking back at them from within the wood. The apprentice finally understood. He had been full of his own skill, his own image. Master Lin had practiced emptiness, the emptiness of preconception. In that emptiness, the true form, unique to that specific tree and its history, could reveal itself. This story points us to the profound teaching of emptiness as intrinsic nature, or Śūnyatā. This is the heart of the Buddhist insight. It does not mean nothing exists. It means nothing exists independently, as a separate, permanent, self-defined thing. Master Lin did not see a log and a statue as two separate things. He saw a continuous process: sunlight, soil, rain, time, storm, resilience, all coagulated into a temporary form called a cypress log. His skillful work was just the next step in that process, guided by emptiness, to reveal another temporary form called a guanyin statue. The log was always empty of being just a log. It was the whole history of the universe up to that point, expressing itself as wood. His emptiness allowed him to participate in its next expression. Let's bring this from the mystical to the scientific. Take this device you might be using to listen, or the chair you sit on. It seems solid, separate. But modern physics tells us it is a whirlwind of energy. The atoms are 99.999999% empty space. The solidity you feel is the repulsive force between electromagnetic fields, a kind of persistent no between clouds of probability. The chair is a useful label for an incredibly dense, stable pattern of relationships and energy events in the quantum field. It is empty of inherent, solid chairness. Its existence is utterly dependent on, 1. The quantum fields, 2. The forces governing them, 3. The trees that were grown, cut, and shaped, 4. The workers who built it, 5. The economic system that delivered it, 6. The cultural idea of a chair, and 7. Your perception that assembles this whirlwind into a single, solid object for sitting. The chair is a nexus of the entire universe. It is, in the deepest sense, empty of being a separate thing. This is not an abstract idea. It's the reason you can change. If you were a solid, permanent, independent self, a log with a fixed shape, then growth, healing, and transformation would be impossible. You would be stuck. But you are empty of such a fixed self. You are a process. You are the present moment expression of your genetics, your experiences, your food, your thoughts, your environment, all of it flowing, changing, interdependent. The you of 10 years ago is gone. The you of 10 minutes ago is gone. There is only this flowing, empty aware process in the present, capable of taking new shape based on what it encounters. This is the ultimate freedom. I experienced a visceral understanding of this during a long, silent retreat. On the 5th day, a profound sense of disorientation set in. The story of me, my name, my job, my anxieties, my preferences, began to feel like a faint radio play in another room. What was left was just sensation. The pressure of the cushion, the sound of rain, the ache in my knee, the flow of breath. And the awareness of it all. There was no central I having these experiences. There was just the experiencing. For a terrifying and then exhilarating moment, the log of my self-concept dissolved, and I saw that I was just this. This alive, aware space where the universe was happening. It felt like coming home to my actual, empty nature. When the thinking mind returned, it was no longer the master, but just another event appearing in the space. This understanding of emptiness is the antidote to suffering rooted in rigidity. Clinging to a fixed idea of how I am, how you are, how the world should be, is like the apprentice carving his pre-made idea into the wood. It creates conflict, disappointment, and splinters. Embracing emptiness, seeing yourself and the world as interdependent, fluid processes, allows you to respond with the flexibility and appropriateness of Master Lin. You meet the actual grain of the situation, not your idea of it. Let's practice this now. Bring to mind a small, persistent worry or self-judgment. Perhaps I am not good enough at X, or I am always anxious. See that thought as a carved line in the wood. Now, imagine that thought softening, dissolving back into the grain. See the wood of your being not as a flawed block, but as a living, unique pattern of growth rings, of all your experiences, your genetics, your history. Your flaws are like lens knots. Not mistakes, but records of storms endured, evidence of your particular journey. In the emptiness of not judging this pattern as good or bad, can you feel a spaciousness around that old story? Can you sense that you are not the carved statue of an anxious person, but the vast, alive wood from which many forms can emerge? You are not the frozen sculpture. You are the potential. We'll explore how this empty, fluid nature plays out in the story of a life in our next part. We continue. Let the concept of the uncarved block simply be a feeling, a softening in the chest. There's no need to hold it as an idea. Let it be this sense that your edges are less solid than they were a moment ago. That the boundary between you and the air, between your thoughts and the quiet room, is becoming porous, gentle. You are breathing the world in, and the world is breathing you out. This is the reality of interconnection. Our last reflection showed us that all forms are empty of independent existence. Now, we turn the lens directly onto the form we cling to most tightly, the self. Who, or what, is experiencing all of this? Our story comes from the bustling, ancient port city of Istanbul, a place where continents and identities have met and mingled for millennia. For 50 years, old Demir tended a small, lesser-known footbridge that spanned a brackish creek flowing into the Golden Horn. It was not the Grand Bazaar, not the Blue Mosque. It was a humble stone arch. But to those in his neighborhood, it was the center of the world. Demir knew everyone. He knew their joys and sorrows as they crossed to and fro. To the fishmonger's son, rushing with the morning catch, he was Uncle Demir, who always had a sweet lump of hard sugar in his pocket. To the young Greek widow who worked as a seamstress, he was Baba Demir, a fatherly presence who ensured she crossed safely before dusk. To the Kurdish porter from the east, he was Demir Aga, a respected elder who shared bitter tea and silent understanding. To the stray cats, he was simply the source of scraps and gentle scratches. Demir himself had been many things, a soldier at Gallipoli, a horror he never spoke of. A ferryman on the Bosphorus, a husband to a woman taken by fever, a father to a daughter who married and moved to Ankara. He carried these histories like worn stones in his pocket. One day, a university student writing a thesis on neighborhood identity interviewed him. "Tell me, Mr. Demir," the student asked, notebook poised. "How do you define yourself? What is your essential identity?" Demir poured the boy a tiny cup of tea from his ever-present thermos. He looked at the water flowing under his bridge. "That water," he said. "Is it the same water as yesterday?" "No," the student said, "it is always new water flowing from upstream." "And the bridge? Is it the same bridge?" "The stones are worn. The mortar has been replaced." "Is it the same?" The student hesitated. Philosophically, it's a ship of Theseus' paradox. But functionally, yes, it's the same bridge. Functionally, Demir repeated, liking the word. "Yes. I am functionally the bridge tender. But the me, that was the soldier. He drowned in the sea at Gallipoli. The me, that was the husband. He was buried with his wife. The me, that is a father, he lives in Ankara now, in his daughter's heart. Here, I am Uncle, Baba, Aga, and the scratcher of ears." He sipped his tea. "You ask for my essential self. When I look inside, I do not find a solid man. I find the echo of cannon fire. I find the scent of my wife's hair. I find the weight of my daughter as a baby in my arms. I find the taste of this tea, and the sound of the fishmonger's boy laughing. I am a crossing point. A bridge where all these things meet. The demir that people speak to is just the name they give to this particular crossing point on this particular day. He pointed to the student's notebook. If you must write something, write this: a man is not a statue. He is a bridge. And a bridge is defined not by the stone it is made of, but by the connections it allows, and by the empty space beneath its arch where life flows through. The student left, his thesis on identity, in ruins, but his understanding of humanity forever deepened. This is the direct teaching of anatta, or no self. The Buddha's radical insight was not that you don't exist, but that you don't exist as a single, permanent, autonomous entity. What you called me is a flowing assembly. A bridge, of 5 ever-changing aggregates: physical form, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Like Demir, you are a crossing point where the world meets itself. Think of a whirlpool in a river. It has a distinct, recognizable form and function. You can name it. But is it a thing separate from the river? If you try to scoop it out and put it on the bank, it ceases to exist. Its existence is entirely dependent on the flowing water. The whirlpool is a verb. A pattern of movement, masquerading as a noun. Your self is the same, a temporary, dynamic pattern in the flow of life, dependent on a trillion causes and conditions, from the bacteria in your gut to the language you speak to the oxygen in the atmosphere. This is why you can have many selves that are all authentically you: the professional you, the parent you, the silly with friends you, the grieving you, the joyful you. These are not fake masks hiding a real you inside. They are all genuine expressions of the pattern, arising in response to different conditions, like different currents shaping the whirlpool. The suffering comes when you fixate on one pattern: I am a depressive, I am a failure, I am a superstar, and try to freeze it, defend it, or make it the only truth. You are trying to turn the river into a statue. A powerful piece of neuroscience supports this. The brain has no single command center. Consciousness appears to be a decentralized, emergent phenomenon, a symphony played by billions of neurons, not a solo performed by a homunculus in your head. There is no little you inside, running the show. There is just the show, the flowing, interdependent process of neural patterns. I saw this in my own life after a major career shift. For years, my identity was the producer. It was solid, impressive, and heavy. When I left that world, I felt the terror of emptiness. Who am I if I'm not that? I was like Demir, asking which version of him was real. The answer came slowly, through stillness. I wasn't a producer who had become something else. The producer was a pattern that had dissolved. What was left was the capacity to pattern, to care, to create, to connect, in new ways. I was the bridge, not the traffic that had once congested it. Letting go of the solid self-concept was like demolishing a dam. It was scary, but it allowed the river of my life to flow again toward new landscapes. This understanding is the root of compassion. If you are not a separate, solid self, then the other person is not a separate, solid other. They are another temporary patterning of the same universal flow. Their suffering and joy are not alien to you, they are variations in the same river. When Demir saw the widow, the porter, the boy, he didn't see separate others. He saw other crossings on the great river, and he tended his bridge accordingly. Let's practice this directly. Bring to mind a person you find difficult. See them not as a fixed, solid entity, a rude person, a narcissist, but as a whirlpool, a dynamic pattern shaped by its own history of currents, their genetics, their pain, their fears, their conditioning. See their behavior as the churning of that water in this moment. This doesn't excuse harmful action, but it changes your relationship to it from one of solid enemy against solid you, to one of pattern recognizing pattern. Can you feel a slight softening? A space where your own rigid self-definition loosens, allowing for a more fluid, and perhaps more merciful, response. Now, turn this gaze inward. When a wave of anxiety or anger arises, instead of thinking, "I am anxious," try, "Anxiety is arising." See it as a current in the river, not the river itself. You are the space of the riverbank, the aware sky above it, witnessing the turbulent water. You are the bridge, not the storm passing underneath. This simple shift in language, from "I am" to "it is arising," creates the emptiness of Demir, the space where you are not defined by the passing traffic of emotion. We'll see how this fluid, empty self navigates the inevitable changes and losses of life in our next story. Let us settle even deeper into the quiet of Monk's Temple. Feel the support beneath you, absolute and unquestioning. The earth holds you, the air embraces you. There is no separation in this holding. Any sense of being a solitary figure adrift is just a thought, a story the mind tells. Let that story soften now, like a shadow dissolving into the room's gentle dark. You are not a visitor to this moment. You are this moment, expressing itself as awareness. We've explored the empty, fluid nature of the self. Now, let's see what happens when this fluid self encounters the solid walls of circumstance, loss, and change. Our story is set in the opulent, fragile world of a bygone Indian kingdom. In the kingdom of Ambra, Queen Tara ruled from a palace famed for its hall of 1,000 mirrors. The walls, ceilings, even sections of the floor were polished silver, capturing and multiplying every detail. Tara's identity was built on these reflections. She was the beautiful one, the powerful one, the center upon which all light fell and was magnified. She believed her strength was in her brilliant, defined image. A creeping dampness, born in the palace foundations, began to tarnish the mirrors. First at the edges, then spreading inwards. Dark, blotchy patches marred the reflections. Tara's image was fractured, distorted. She fell into despair. She was no longer the queen of perfect reflections. She felt her very self crumbling with the silver. She ordered the hall sealed, a tomb for her former glory. In her misery, she sought the counsel of a wandering ascetic who lived in a cave outside the city, a woman who owned nothing, not even a bowl. The queen, in her finest silks, stood at the mouth of the bare cave. "My world is ruined," Tara lamented. "My mirrors are tarnished. I do not know who I am anymore." The ascetic, named Vara, smiled. "Bring me one of these ruined mirrors." A servant was sent, returning with a heavy square of silver, its surface clouded and blotched. Vara took it and placed it flat on the stone floor of the cave. She then fetched a bowl of clean water and poured it slowly onto the mirror's surface until a thin, trembling layer covered the tarnish. "Now," she said, "look and tell me who you are." Tara knelt, expecting to see a broken, watery version of her face. Instead, she gasped. The water smoothed over the tarnish, creating a flawless, liquid plane. Reflected in it was not just her face, but the vast, open sky at the cave's entrance, a passing cloud, the branch of a tree swaying in the wind. Her own image was there, but it was small, nestled within the boundless sky. It was beautiful, but it was no longer the only thing, or the most important thing, in the reflection. The flaw was not in the silver, Vara said softly. The flaw was in believing the reflection was you. The silver was just a medium, and it changed. This water is also a medium. It reflects just as clearly, but it does not hold. It is empty. It accepts the sky, the tree, your face, without clinging to any of them. When the wind stirs it, the reflection shimmers and reforms. When the sun drinks it, it vanishes entirely, having done its work of showing what was true for a moment. She gestured to the cave around them. You built a palace of mirrors and called it yourself. But you were never the silver. You are the capacity to reflect. You are the awareness that can hold the image of a queen, the grief of loss, the sky, and the tarnish, without being permanently stained by any of it. Let the mirrors tarnish. Your true nature is like this water, clear, empty, and able to reflect the whole world, not just a single, perfect image. Queen Tara returned to her palace. She did not restore the hall of mirrors. Instead, she had the silver removed and melted down to fund wells and irrigation for the kingdom. In the great hall, she installed a vast, shallow pool of still water, open to the sky through a new aperture in the roof. She would often sit beside it, not to see her own reflection, but to watch the clouds drift by in its surface, the stars will at night, the faces of her children as they played beside it. She ruled not as a fixed image of power, but with the fluid, responsive clarity of water. Reflecting the true needs of her people, not the monument of herself. This story teaches us about emptiness as liberating non-attachment. Our suffering arises not from change itself, but from our attachment to forms that are, by nature, impermanent. We are like Queen Tara, building identities, relationships, careers, and beliefs out of reflective silver, solid-seeming forms that we mistake for ourselves. When they inevitably tarnish, break, or change, as all conditioned things do, we feel we are breaking. But our true nature is Vara's bowl of water, aware, empty, reflective capacity. The water doesn't care if it holds the image of a queen, a cloud, or a dirty footprint. It receives, reflects, and releases. When the conditions for a reflection are present, it appears. When they are not, the water is simply clear. This is non-attachment, not cold indifference, but wise freedom. It is the ability to fully engage with life. To love deeply, work passionately, enjoy profoundly, without the secret demand that anything or anyone, including yourself, must stay fixed in a certain way to preserve your sense of self. Modern psychology touches this in the concept of psychological flexibility, a core component of mental health. It is the ability to stay in contact with the present moment and change or persist in behavior based on what the situation affords, rather than being rigidly attached to rules, self-stories, or avoidance of discomfort. The rigid self is the tarnished mirror. The flexible, empty self is the water. I learned this through a painful friendship's end. I had a story. We are lifelong friends, a fixed unit. When the friendship fractured, the story shattered, and I felt shattered. I clung to the tarnished mirror of what had been, polishing it frantically with memory and blame. Healing began only when I could put that story down, not by denying the love and loss, but by seeing that the friendship, like all things, was a beautiful, temporary pattern in the water of our lives. Its end didn't mean I was ruined, it meant the conditions for that particular reflection had changed. My capacity for friendship, the water itself, was still clear and whole, ready to reflect new connections in new ways. Grief became clean sadness, not identity-shattering despair. This is the great promise of understanding emptiness. You are not the fragile, tarnishing silver. You are the indestructible, clear space that can hold all experiences. Joy is a reflection on the water. Sorrow is a reflection on the water. Neither is the water itself. The water remains, fundamentally unchanged, capable of holding it all. Let's practice this with a current worry or attachment. Identify the silver mirror you're clinging to. Maybe it's, my health must always be perfect, my child must succeed in this way, this project must be a triumph. Feel the tension that comes from that demand for a fixed outcome. Now, imagine placing that demand, that image, on the surface of a still pool. See it as a reflection, not as the pool itself. Watch as a breeze, the reality of uncertainty, gently ripples the water, distorting the perfect image. Can you let the image shimmer and change without feeling that you are being destroyed? Can you rest as the deep, still water underneath, which is never disturbed by what passes across its surface? This is not resignation. It is the profound strength of being grounded in what is real and unchanging, your own aware, empty presence. We'll now see how this empty awareness actually functions in the midst of daily life, through the tale of a most unlikely practitioner. Let's not think of this as a continuation, but as a deepening. Like a stone dropped into a still pond, the initial splash has passed. Now we are in the realm of the expanding rings, the gentle waves that touch the furthest shore. Your mind is that pond. Thoughts may ripple across, but the depth remains undisturbed, silent, and dark. Rest in that depth. We've seen how emptiness allows us to release attachment to fixed forms. But how do we live from this emptiness? Not as a philosophy, but as a practical way of moving through a busy, demanding world. Our story takes us to the precise, orderly heart of 18th century Switzerland. In the town of La Chaux-de-Fonds, master watchmaker Klaus was renowned for chronometers of impossible accuracy. His workshop was a universe of ticking, a symphony of precisely interlocking motions. His mind mirrored his work, ordered, sequential, perpetually planning the next tick, anticipating the next talk. He believed his effectiveness was born of this constant mental motion. Then, a strange malady befell him. Not of the body, but of perception. In the midst of adjusting a hairspring, he would experience a sudden, terrifying lapse. For a fraction of a second, the world, the tick, the tock, the dust motes in a sunbeam, the very meaning of the tools in his hands, would dissolve into utter, meaningless sensation. It felt like a tiny void opening in the center of his reality. He'd gasp, clutch his bench, and the world would snap back into its familiar, ticking order. He feared he was going mad, that the precision machinery of his mind was breaking down. Desperate, he traveled to a remote alpine monastery, not as a devotee, but as a patient seeking a cure. He described his symptoms to the abbot, a man with eyes as calm and deep as a mountain lake. "It is a silence," Klaus stammered. "A horrible, empty silence in the middle of everything. It steals the meaning." The abbot listened, then asked, "And in that silence, does the hairspring cease to exist? Do your hands fall off?" "No. I see it. I feel it. But it means nothing." "Ah," the abbot said. "So the perception is clear. The sensation is vivid. Only the commentary, the meaning, has stopped. This is not your mind breaking, master watchmaker. This is your mind showing you its original, clean state. You are glimpsing the space between the ticks." He led Klaus to the monastery's simple water clock, a steady drip into a calibrated basin. "Your chronometers measure by accumulation. Tick plus tick equals time. This measures by emptiness, the fall of a drop into a space, followed by the space waiting for the next drop. Both are valid. But you have lived only in the accumulation. Your mind has become a crowded clock face. This void, you fear, is the central pivot, the unmoving pinion upon which all the moving gears turn. You have never noticed it because you have only ever looked at the gears." Klaus was a practical man. "What must I do?" "Nothing," said the abbot. "When the silence comes, do not run from it. Do not fill it with panic. Step into it. Be the pivot." Skeptical but disciplined, Klaus returned to his bench. When the lapse came next, instead of recoiling, he did as instructed. He let go. He fell into the silence. The world did not dissolve into chaos. Instead, something miraculous happened. In that empty, meaning-free space, his perception became hyperacute. He saw the hairspring not as the hairspring that must be adjusted to achieve accuracy, but as a perfect, glowing spiral of metal, catching the light in a way he'd never seen. His hands, moving without the usual frantic commentary of his mind, performed the adjustment with a fluid, effortless grace they had never possessed. The action was not a link in a chain of thought, it was a perfect, complete event arising from the stillness itself. From that day, Klaus's work changed. He still made the most precise watches in Europe. But he now worked in bursts of deep, empty attention, punctuated by deliberate pauses where he would simply gaze out the window at the light on the mountains. His colleagues thought he was losing his edge. But his chronometers became even more reliable, and possessed an ineffable beauty others could not replicate. He had learned to use the unmoving pivot within to regulate the frantic motion without. This story introduces emptiness as the source of spontaneous right action. We operate under the illusion that thinking, planning, and efforting are what produce results. We are like Klaus, our minds a constant tick-tock of commentary, judgment, and anticipation. This mental noise is the gearwork. But beneath it is the still, empty pivot of pure awareness. From this space, action can arise that is perfectly attuned to the present moment, unburdened by the past or future, free of the I should or I must. In Zen, this is called wu-wei, often translated as effortless action or non-doing. It is the action of water flowing downhill, of a tree growing toward the light. It is not inaction. It is supremely effective action that arises from a state of empty, unified awareness, not from a separate doer straining against circumstances. Klaus, in his moment of empty pivot, performed wu-wei. His hands were moved by the intelligence of the situation itself, not by his thinking mind. You experience this in moments of flow or being in the zone, whether in sports, art, conversation, or crisis. The self-conscious you disappears, and action unfolds with a clarity and grace that feels both surprising and inevitable. That state is a temporary union with the empty pivot. The thinking mind has quieted, and the deeper, intuitive intelligence of the whole organism is allowed to operate. Cognitive science studies this as the difference between the deliberative and the implemental mind, or between explicit and implicit processing. When you first learn a skill, like driving, you use slow, deliberate, conscious thought, the ticking gears. With mastery, the skill becomes implicit, processed in deeper, vaster neural pathways. The expert driver doesn't think about each turn, they and the car and the road become a single, fluid event. The empty pivot is the state where the implicit, holistic intelligence is in the lead, and the noisy, explicit commentary has receded. I witnessed this in a master carpenter friend. He would stare at a piece of wood for long minutes, doing nothing. Then, his hands would move, and a perfect joint would emerge. If you asked him how he knew to cut at that angle, he'd say, "The wood told me." He wasn't being mystical. He had emptied his mind of preconceived plans enough for the specific grain, density, and shape of that piece of wood to guide his action. His emptiness allowed for a conversation with the reality in front of him, leading to a result no preset plan could have achieved. The practice, then, is to cultivate access to this pivot. It's not about creating a permanent void, but about recognizing the empty spaces that are already there, the breath at the top of the inhalation, the instant before you speak, the moment between tasks. Let's try this now. For the next minute, let go of any goal for this practice. Don't try to relax, don't try to understand. Simply be aware. Notice sounds. Notice bodily sensations. Notice thoughts appearing. But instead of following any of them, see if you can feel the space in which they all appear. That silent, aware background. That is your pivot. Rest as that. You are not the ticking thought, you are the silence between ticks. You are not the sensation, you are the openness that feels it. From this place, action, when needed, will be clear, simple, and timely. You won't need to force it, it will arise, like Klaus's hands moving to adjust the spring. We'll explore how this empty, responsive way of being alters our most fundamental interpretations of life's events in our next part. Welcome back to this shared quiet. There's a gentleness here that asks nothing of you. It's the gentleness of deep space, which holds galaxies without grasping them. Let that same space hold you now. Your body, your breath, your wandering mind, all are simply content in the vast container of this moment. There is no need to organize it. It is already complete. We've seen how emptiness can be the source of right action. Now, let's examine the lens through which we view the world itself. We constantly interpret, label, and judge our experiences, good, bad, lucky, tragic. What if these labels are the very source of our turbulence? Our story comes from the mist-shrouded valleys and resilient culture of Wales. Gwyneth farmed the stubborn, beautiful hills of Snowdonia. Her family had worked this land for centuries, a continuous conversation with soil, sheep, and sky. The neighbors knew her for two things: her magnificent flock of hardy Welsh mountain sheep, and her strange response to any event. If a ewe delivered a healthy twin lambs in a blizzard, neighbors would shout, "Wonderful luck, Gwyneth. What a blessing." Gwyneth would look at the wobbling lambs, then at the still falling snow, and say, "We'll see." If a sudden rainstorm washed out a crucial track just before shearing, they'd lament, "Terrible misfortune. What a curse." Gwyneth would gaze at the sodden earth and say, "We'll see." It baffled everyone. To them, the world was clearly divided into fortune and disaster. Gwyneth seemed to live in a haze of maybe. The ultimate test came the year of the great drought. The springs dried up. The grass withered. Gwyneth's prize ram, a creature of legendary pedigree, fell ill with a wasting sickness. The vet shook his head. "It's the lack of good feed. He's too weak. It's a tragedy." The neighbors gathered, offering condolences for the impending loss. Gwyneth tended the ram, her face unreadable. "We'll see," she whispered, not to them, but to the animal. Because the ram was weak, she kept him separate in the low pasture by the farmhouse, while the rest of the flock was driven high and far in a desperate search for scant grazing. She nursed him with hand-cut greens from a damp ditch only near the house. One night, a poisoner struck. Some conflict with a distant landowner. He scattered tainted feed in the high pastures. At dawn, Gwyneth found the heart of her flock, her best ewes, their lambs, dead or dying. It was a catastrophe that would break most farmers. The neighbors arrived, faces grim with shared grief. "This is the worst," one said. "An evil, wicked thing. After the drought, this." They found Gwyneth in the low pasture, sitting with her sick ram, who was now on his feet, nibbling at clean grass. She looked up at their devastated faces, then at her ravished hills. Her eyes held profound sorrow, but not the shock of someone whose world had been defined as good and now found it bad. "The ram lived because he was here," she said quietly. "He was here because he was weak. The weakness that seemed a curse became the reason he is alive. The strength of the flock that seemed a blessing became the reason they are gone." She stood, brushing soil from her hands. "I do not know what this is. I only know what happens next. We will bury the flock. We will save the ram. We will see what grows from this soil next year." An old shepherd, who had said little in his life, finally spoke. You never name the weather, Gwyneth. You just feel the rain on your face. You never name the luck, you just tend the sheep in front of you. Gwyneth nodded. The sky is not good when it rains on the hay, nor bad when it ends a drought. It is just the sky. My naming it does not change it. It only puts a storm inside my own mind. If I do not name it, my mind stays like the hill, here, solid, ready for whatever grows next. This story illustrates emptiness of designation. Events are empty of inherent goodness or badness. These are labels we project onto them, based on our limited, self-centered view of how things should be. Gwyneth understood that any single event is just a thread in a vast, unfolding tapestry whose full pattern we cannot see. By refusing to prematurely label, she kept her mind open and responsive, like the hill itself, rather than reactive and devastated. The Stoic philosophers of ancient Greece and Rome arrived at a similar wisdom. Epictetus said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." The event itself is neutral. Our story about the event, our designation of it as a catastrophe, is what creates suffering. Gwyneth's, we'll see, is the embodiment of suspending judgment, of holding the emptiness of not knowing what it means. This emptiness is not ignorance, it is profound humility in the face of life's complexity. Modern psychology validates this in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which identifies that between an event and our emotional response lies a thought or interpretation. By learning to question and loosen those automatic, often negative, designations, "This is terrible, I can't handle this," we create space, emptiness, for a more balanced and less distressing response. Gwyneth was a natural CBT practitioner of the hills. I learned this painfully when I lost a long-held job. My immediate designation, disaster. Failure. Ruin. That story created months of anxiety and shame. It was only when I could drop the story and simply be with the bare facts, I am without this job. My bank account has this amount. I feel fear. That clarity emerged. From that empty, non-judgmental space, practical steps appeared. Update the resume, reach out to a contact, consider a different path. The disaster was a story. The reality was a difficult situation that contained, as all situations do, seeds of possibility I was blind to while ranting about the injustice. Like the weak ram, the perceived flaw, losing the job, became the condition for a new strength, a more authentic career, to emerge. The practice here is to become a gardener of maybe. When a strong judgment arises, this traffic is awful, this person is so rude, this pain is unbearable. Pause. See if you can gently place the label down. Don't replace it with a positive label, "This is good," which is just another story. Instead, open to the emptiness of maybe. Maybe this delay is preventing an accident. Maybe this person's rudeness is a cry for help. Maybe this pain has something to teach me. We'll see. This creates a spaciousness around the event, depriving it of its power to define your reality. Let's practice with a minor irritation from your recent past. Recall it. Feel the familiar heat of the judgment. Now, Imagine that judgment as a word written on a piece of paper. See yourself setting that paper down on a vast, empty plane. The word is still there, but it's small. The plane is huge, silent, and open. The event happened. The plane doesn't argue. It just holds the tiny piece of paper without being defined by it. Can you rest as that plane, even for a breath? This is the emptiness that liberates you from being the victim of your own hasty designations. In our next part, we'll discover how this empty, non-judgmental awareness is actually our most fundamental nature, not something we achieve, but something we remember. Let the journey now turn inward, to the source. We've traveled through stories of potters and farmers, watchmakers and queens. Each pointed to a spaciousness, a clarity, a not knowing. But where does this reside? Is it a skill we learn, or a distant state we achieve? What if it is neither? What if it is what you have always been, prior to any story, any label, any thought? Let's rest in that question, not as a puzzle to solve, but as a sky to inhabit. Our story comes from the world of art, where the search for originality often leads back to the most fundamental source of all. In Paris, in the ateliers of Montmartre, Leo was a legend. He could paint a perfect Matisse, a flawless Modigliani, a Van Gogh that made experts weep. He was not a thief. He was a ghost, painting newly discovered masterworks for wealthy, gullible collectors. His ego was his emptiness. He could disappear so completely into another style that no trace of Leo remained. Yet, he despised himself. He was a void filled with other people's genius. His crisis came when a ruthless collector demanded a new Picasso from the Blue Period. Leo studied, prepared, and began. But as his brush moved, something broke. Instead of Picasso's melancholic blues, his hand laid down a stark, violent slash of crimson. He stared at it, horrified. It was his. A mark belonging to no one but the nameless man beneath the forger's skills. He fled the studio in a panic. He wandered for days, ending up in the cavernous silence of the Musée Gustave Moreau. In a forgotten corner, he saw a small, unexhibited painting by the master. It was not a typical Moreau mythical scene. It was a simple study of a blank canvas on an easel, lit by a single window. The play of light on the raw, unprepared linen was the subject. In the corner, Moreau had scribbled a note, l'éblouissement du rien, the dazzlement of nothing. Leo stood transfixed. The painting wasn't about the potential of the canvas. It was a celebration of the canvas itself, the pure, receptive ground before any image is imposed. It was the most honest painting he had ever seen. He realized all his life, he had only ever painted the images. He had never acknowledged, let alone celebrated, the ground. His own mind was that canvas, and he had spent a lifetime frantic to cover it with acceptable, valuable, borrowed imagery, terrified of its pristine emptiness. He returned to his studio, but not to forge. He took a fresh, large canvas and left it white. He sat before it for weeks. At first, his mind screamed with potential images, a landscape, a portrait, an abstract explosion. He let them come and go like clouds, not painting them. He was practicing seeing the canvas, not what could be on it. One rainy afternoon, a single drop of water, leaking from the ceiling, fell onto the canvas. It left a perfect, darkened circle. Leo looked at it. It was not a thing. It was an event. A meeting of water and fabric. With a breath of freedom he'd never known, he took a pencil and, with exquisite delicacy, drew a single, fine circle around the water stain. Then he signed it, not with a famous name, but with his own, Leo. He showed this work, a blank canvas with a water stain and a penciled circle, to a respected, avant-garde curator. The curator studied it for a long time. "It is utterly still," she said. "It does not shout. It listens. It is the first painting I have seen that is about the act of seeing itself. The stain is the event of the world. The circle is the gentle, acknowledging attention of the artist. The vast white is the mind that holds both. This is not a forgery. This is an original." Leo had finally painted his masterpiece. He had not created an image, he had revealed the ground. He had discovered that his true originality was not a style to invent, but the empty, aware canvas of his own mind, which had been there all along. This story points to emptiness as primordial awareness, or Buddha nature. This is the most essential teaching. You are not your thoughts, your memories, your personality, your achievements, or your failures. These are just paintings, some beautiful, some messy, that have been laid onto the canvas of your awareness. The canvas itself is untouched by them. It is empty, clear, and ever-present. That is your true nature. Leo's journey was from identifying with the forged images to resting as the blank canvas that could finally acknowledge a simple, true event, the water stain of the present moment. In Dzogchen and Mahamudra traditions of Buddhism, this is called the natural state or original mind. It is the mind before it is cluttered with concepts, like a mirror before any reflection appears. The practice is not to paint better pictures, but to recognize the mirror. Your anxiety, your joy, your planning, your remembering, these are all reflections. The mirror that holds them is clean, silent, and unchanging. You are that mirror. This is supported by the neuroscience of awareness versus content. The brain generates ever-changing content, thoughts, feelings, perceptions. But the subjective experience of being aware of that content appears to be a more fundamental, background property. It's the canvas upon which the neural paintings are made. Meditation practices strengthen the ability to disidentify from the content and rest as the awareness itself. I had a glimpse of this during a period of intense grief. The pain was so overwhelming it felt like it was me. I was a solid block of sorrow. One night, exhausted from crying, I simply stopped. I stopped fighting it, stopped being it. I just listened to it. In that moment, a space opened. There was the raw sensation of grief and the awareness of the sensation. They were separate. The awareness was vast, quiet, and, strangely, peaceful. It wasn't happy, it was just clear. It could hold the crushing weight of grief without being crushed. For the first time, I knew I was not the grief. I was the space in which grief was happening. That space was my original mind. It was a profound homecoming. The practice is simple but profound. Look for the looker. Right now, you are aware of reading these words. That's a fact. Now, turn attention away from the words and towards that which is aware. Don't try to imagine what it looks like. It has no shape, no color. Just feel the knowing quality itself. The bare fact of awareness. That's it. That's the canvas. That's the mirror. Thoughts will come. Let them. They are just more content appearing in the mirror. Your job is not to follow them, but to gently return to feeling the mirror-like awareness itself. When you rest here, you are home. This is the emptiness that is full of knowing. This is the silence that is alive with presence. It is not yours personally, it is the universal faculty of consciousness, expressing itself as you. Leo's blank canvas was his contribution to art because it pointed unflinchingly to this universal ground of all perception. Let's rest here for a few moments. Close your eyes if you wish. Drop all effort to be any particular way. Simply be aware. Notice sounds, and the awareness of sound. Notice bodily feelings, and the awareness of feeling. Notice thoughts, and the awareness of thought. Don't get lost in the content. Abide as the awareness. This is your original face. This is what you were before your parents were born. Empty, clear, and whole. In our next part, we'll see how this understanding of our original nature resolves the apparent paradox of form and emptiness that lies at the heart of wisdom traditions. As we near the end of our exploration, let the teachings dissolve into pure experience. Concepts are like signposts pointing to the moon. Don't mistake the finger for the celestial body itself. Let go of the words. Let go of the stories. What remains when the pointing stops? That is where we are now. In the silent, vivid suchness of what is. We have discovered that our true nature is empty, mirror-like awareness. Yet, we live in a world of breathtaking forms, mountains, faces, symphonies, heartbreaks. How do we reconcile the empty mirror with the vivid reflection? Our final story comes from the interplay of technology and the most ancient of human crafts. In Kyoto, a master weaver named Aiko worked with threads of light. She used optical fibers and projection to create living tapestries that changed with the viewer's perspective. Her masterpiece was a room-sized installation called Kuno Ito, Threads of Emptiness. From one angle, it was a perfect, three-dimensional hologram of an ancient pine tree, every needle precise. Step to the side, and the tree dissolved into a shimmering galaxy of stars. Step again, and it became a rushing waterfall of pure light. The magic was debated. Was it a solid form or just illusion? A young physicist, Kenji, visited, obsessed with the boundary between the quantum field, potential, emptiness, and classical reality, solid form. He saw Aiko's work and was stunned. "You have done it," he said. "You have made the paradox visible. Which is it really? The tree or the galaxy? Aiko smiled. It is neither. And it is both. Come. She led him behind the installation wall. It was a chaotic tangle of clear fibers, lenses, and projectors. A mess of lines and light sources. This is the emptiness, she said, the interdependent causes. The specific alignment of these threads, these lights, from your specific viewpoint, creates the tree in your mind. Shift your view, the alignment changes, and a new form arises. The tree has no independent existence. It is entirely dependent on the arrangement of the empty threads and the position of the perceiver. Yet, when you see it, it is undeniably, vividly there. Kenji's mind raced. So the form is real, but its reality is dependent, empty. Yes, Aiko said. Now look at this. She handed him a single, clear optical fiber. What is this? It's a thread. A medium for light. Is it? Without light, it is invisible. It is defined by its capacity to carry something else. Its threadness is empty. And the light it carries? Without the fiber to guide it, it scatters into the room, unseen. They depend on each other. The form, the tree, and the emptiness, the threads, are not two things. They are one process. The emptiness is the form, seen from the perspective of its causes. The form is the emptiness, seen from the perspective of its manifestation. She turned the main lights on. The chaotic tangle behind the wall was suddenly illuminated. And in that tangle, from their specific angle, they could now see a perfect, shadowy image of a human heart, formed by the negative spaces between the threads. Kenji gasped. You see? Aiko whispered. Even the chaotic emptiness behind the wall, when lit just so, reveals a form. There is no place where emptiness ends and form begins. They inter-are. The Heart Sutra says, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It is not a philosophy. It is an instruction for seeing. This story embodies the ultimate non-dual teaching, the identity of form and emptiness, Śūnyatā. This is the pinnacle of the emptiness teachings. It resolves the apparent conflict. You are not either empty awareness or a solid person. You are both, simultaneously. The empty awareness is the clear optical fiber. The thoughts, sensations, and perceptions of you are the specific, vivid light patterns, the tree, the galaxy, traveling along it. The pattern is utterly dependent on the fiber and the viewpoint, and has no separate existence. Yet, it is experienced with undeniable reality. The fiber is meaningless without the light is chaotic without the fiber. They are one event. You are not a soul in a body. You are the emptiness of awareness appearing as the form of a body-mind. The wave is not separate from the ocean, it is the ocean, waving. Your sadness is not separate from awareness, it is awareness, feeling sad. When you see this directly, life ceases to be a problem of reconciling spirit and matter, sacred and profane. Everything is the luminous, empty aware substance of reality, dancing in temporary, dependent patterns. The tree is the galaxy is the waterfall, depending on the angle of perception. Modern physics hints at this in theories where matter and energy are understood as excitations in underlying quantum fields, the emptiness of the field manifesting as the form of a particle. The particle is not in the field, it is the field in a particular state. I saw this most clearly one autumn, watching a leaf fall. I saw it as a separate, solid thing, a form. Then, my perception shifted. I saw it as a momentary gathering of tree sap, sunlight, carbon, water, and genetic instruction, all emptiness in interdependent flow. In that moment, the leaf wasn't a thing falling. It was the universe, leafing. The form and its emptiness were the same. It was the most ordinary and most mystical experience of my life. This understanding brings profound peace and responsibility. Peace, because you see that even your greatest troubles are like the holographic tree. Vivid, but empty of solid, permanent, independent existence. They are patterns in the light of awareness, dependent on causes, and they will change. Responsibility, because you see that your perspective, your angle of view, actively participates in co-creating the reality you experience. If you shift your view from fear to openness, the same tangled threads of circumstance can manifest a galaxy instead of a prison. Let's practice this unified vision. Look at your own hand. See it as a solid, familiar form. Now, see it as a medical textbook might, a temporary assembly of cells, fluids, and electrical signals, all in constant exchange with the environment. Now, see it as a physicist might, a dancing cloud of atoms, mostly empty space, held by forces. Now, see it as Iko might, a specific, beautiful pattern of light in the hologram of your awareness, utterly dependent on a trillion causes, and utterly real. Can you hold all these views at once? The solid form and the empty interdependence. This is seeing form as emptiness, emptiness as form. In this unity, life is not denied, it is sanctified. Washing a dish is the universe washing itself. Feeling heartbreak is empty awareness exploring the texture of love. There is no act too small, no feeling too mundane, that is not the luminous play of the one reality, appearing as you. Let's rest even more simply now. There's no need to follow a thread, or remember a teaching. Let your mind be like a sheet of paper upon which nothing has yet been written. Clean, open, receptive. Any thought that arises is just a stray mark. The paper itself remains unchanged, untroubled, holding the possibility of every story without being any of them. We've seen the unity of form and emptiness. Now, let's explore the space before action, the quiet moment before a choice is made. In that pregnant pause lies immense freedom. Our story is set in the scholarly silence of medieval Timbuktu. In the great library of Sankor, where precious manuscripts on astronomy, medicine, and law were preserved in camel skin bindings, there was a keeper named Idris. His duty was not just to protect the texts, but to decide which of the many writings offered by travelers and scholars were worthy of inclusion. It was a position of immense influence. Idris was renowned for his discernment. But his secret was not in what he chose, but in what he did before choosing. He maintained a special shelf, separate from the classified collections. He called it the Chamber of Maybe. Here, he placed every new manuscript for a full cycle of the moon. He would not read them. He would simply allow them to be in the library, unjudged, unclassified. Young, eager scholars would protest. "This one is clearly brilliant," they'd say, or "this one is heresy. Why do you wait?" Idris would reply, "A text is not just ink on paper. It is a seed. It needs time in the dark soil of silence to reveal its true nature. What seems brilliant today may reveal itself as clever emptiness tomorrow. What seems heretical may contain a buried truth that needs time to breathe." One day, a bitter rival from a northern kingdom delivered a manuscript intended to disgrace Idris. It was a vicious polemic, attacking the very foundations of Sankor's teachings, wrapped in a beautiful cover. The scholars were outraged. "Burn it," they cried. "Do not even grant it a place in the Chamber of Maybe." Idris, calm as ever, took the manuscript. He did not react to the cover or the reputation of the sender. He placed it on the shelf of Maybe. For 28 nights, it sat. The outrage cooled. Curiosity, a quieter emotion, began to stir. On the 29th day, Idris took it down. As he finally opened it, he did not find the expected hateful diatribe. The first 10 pages were indeed venomous prose. But then, the author's hand changed, the ink grew thinner, as if written in haste or desperation. The text dissolved into a personal, agonized journal, questioning his own attacks, confessing his envy of Sankor's peace, and ending with a series of profound and original philosophical questions about the nature of doubt itself. Idris had the first 10 pages carefully removed and burned, as they were indeed poison. The rest he had bound and placed in the Library of Philosophy. It became one of the most studied texts on intellectual humility in the region. Idris explained to his students, "My mind must be like the Chamber of Maybe. If I fill it with immediate judgment, this is good, or this is bad, there is no space for the thing to reveal its deeper truth. Emptiness is not indecision. It is the wise space that allows all possibilities to simmer until the true flavor emerges. By not reacting, I did not grant the sender the revenge he wanted. By waiting, I allowed the hidden gift within the attack to reveal itself. This story teaches emptiness as wise suspension. We are conditioned to react, to judge, to categorize instantly. Our minds are often like overstuffed libraries, with no chamber of maybe. We see an emotion and call it anxiety, and we react to the label. We see a person's action and call it rude, and we react to the judgment. But between the stimulus and our reaction there is a space. In that space is our freedom and our power. Idris cultivated that space deliberately. In psychology, this is related to the concept of response flexibility, and the practice of creating a pause between impulse and action. Mindfulness strengthens the neural circuitry that allows you to observe an urge or a judgment without immediately being carried away by it. That observational pause is the chamber of maybe, in your own mind. I learned this when I received a harsh, unfair email from a colleague. My immediate reaction was a hot wave of anger and a flood of defensive arguments. The old me would have fired off a reply, escalating the conflict. Remembering the practice of emptiness, I created a chamber of maybe. I did not reply. I let the email sit for a full day. In that space, my anger settled. I saw the fear behind my colleague's words. I also saw a tiny, valid point buried in the unfairness. My eventual response was calm, acknowledged their concern, addressed the valid point, and gently set a boundary. It diffused the entire situation. The emptiness of my non-reaction allowed a wiser form to emerge. The practice is to build your own inner chamber of maybe. When a strong emotional or judgmental thought arises, consciously insert a pause. Breathe. Say to yourself, maybe. Don't believe the thought. Don't fight it. Just place it on the shelf. Give it the space of a few breaths, or an hour, or a day. See what happens to it, and to you, when it is not immediately believed or acted upon. You are not your first thought. You are the spacious awareness that can choose whether, and how, to respond. Let's practice this now. Recall a minor irritation from today, a delay, a slight, a frustration. Feel the initial judgment arise. Now, imagine placing that judgment, the whole package of thought and feeling, on a simple, empty wooden shelf. Label it, maybe. Now, step back. You are not the judgment on the shelf. You are the vast, quiet room that contains the shelf. Breathe as the room. The judgment is just an object in the room. It can sit there. It does not need to define the room. This is the power of wise suspension. In our next part, we will see how this empty, suspended awareness can meet one of life's greatest challenges, the experience of loss and the ending of forms. Welcome back to the quiet. Let's allow the concept of the chamber of maybe to simply be a feeling, a softening in the belly, a relaxation of the mental fist that so often clenches around experience. There is a relief in not having to know, to judge, to decide. It is the relief of the sky, which doesn't choose which clouds to hold. It simply provides the space for their journey. Now, we turn toward a universal experience, breakage. Things fall apart. Relationships end. Health declines. Dreams shatter. Our culture often sees this as pure loss, a void where something solid once was. But what if the break itself creates a new kind of space, a sacred geometry of loss? Our story comes from the resilient islands of Greece. On the island of Kalymnos, famed for its sponge divers, there lived an old fisherman named Yorgos. His greatest treasure was not his boat, but his net. It had been hand-knotted by his grandfather, a vast, intricate web of perfect symmetry. For decades, it hauled in catches that fed his family and the village. It was a symbol of unbroken tradition, of wholeness. One brutal winter storm shredded it. A submerged wreck tore gaping holes in its center. Yorgos hauled the tattered remains onto the dock, a heartbroken man. To the other fishermen, it was a clear tragedy. A terrible loss, they said. You must buy a new, stronger synthetic net. The old way is broken. Yorgos gathered the ripped net into his arms and carried it home. He did not buy a new one. For months, he sat in the sun outside his whitewashed house, painstakingly mending it. But he did not try to restore the original pattern. The holes were too vast. Instead, he used a different, stronger knot, and a contrasting color of twine, a deep indigo against the faded original hemp. Where the net had been torn, he wove new patterns. A star at the center of the largest rupture, a wave-like flourish in another. The mend was not hidden, it was celebrated, made beautiful and strong in its own right. When he finally returned to the sea with his mended net, the others scoffed. It's a patchwork quilt, not a net. The fish will see it from miles away. But Yorgos cast it. And something remarkable happened. The mended net, with its varied textures and apertures, created different currents in the water. It did not just catch fish, it guided them. The older, wiser fish that could evade a standard net were gently directed by the new patterns into the deeper pockets. His catch was different, not just more, but more varied, including species others rarely saw. The net had become wiser. Its strength was no longer the naive strength of unbroken perfection, but the resilient, adaptive strength of something that had been shattered and consciously remade. A young diver asked him, "Why did you spend so long mending what was broken, instead of getting a new one?" Yorgos held up a section of the net, the indigo star vivid against the old hemp. "The break created a new space," he said. "A hole is not just nothing. It is an opening. I could have filled it to look exactly like the old net, pretending the break never happened. But that would be a lie, and the mended spot would be a weak, stiff scar. Instead, I honored the break. I gave it a new shape, a beautiful shape. Now, the net remembers the storm. Its memory is not a weakness, it is what makes it intelligent. The emptiness of the tear is now the most important part of the pattern. This story embodies emptiness as generative repair. The Japanese art of kintsugi, mending broken pottery with gold lacquer, celebrating the cracks, is a well-known metaphor. But Yorgos's net takes it further. The emptiness of the tear wasn't just filled with gold. It was rewoven into a new, functional pattern that made the whole net more intelligent and effective. The break created necessary new spaces that altered the function for the better. In our lives, we often try to hide our breaks, to get back to normal, as if the rupture never happened. We see the void left by a loss as something to be filled as quickly as possible, with a new relationship, a new job, new distractions. But what if the void itself is sacred? What if the space left by a loss is the very opening through which a new kind of wisdom, a new pattern for living, can enter? Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, often functions most powerfully after a loss or trauma. Old neural pathways are broken, new ones must form. This is a biological kintsugi. The suffering of the break creates the conditions for new, sometimes more resilient and integrated, patterns of thought and being to emerge. The emptiness of the old pattern is the prerequisite for new growth. I witnessed this in a friend who lost her ability to run, a core part of her identity, to a chronic injury. The void was devastating. She tried everything to fix it back to the old pattern. Only when she surrendered to the break did a new pattern emerge. She took up swimming, then painting scenes from the pool's edge. The loss of one form created the space for a richer, more varied expression of herself to surface. The injury was the tear, her creative adaptation was the indigo star. The practice here is to honor the break. When you experience a loss, a failure, an ending, resist the immediate urge to fill the void or pretend it isn't there. Instead, sit with the emptiness it has created. Feel its shape. What new space has opened up in your schedule, your heart, your identity? Don't judge it as bad. Just be curious about the new architecture of your life. Then, ask, how can I mend this not by returning to the old pattern, but by weaving a new, beautiful, and functional pattern around this very void? How can this emptiness become a source of new intelligence, new direction, like the guiding currents in Yorgosa's net? Let's practice with a past hurt, large or small. Feel the old scar, the sense of breakage. Now, imagine that scar not as a fault line, but as a seam of gold, or a weave of indigo thread. See it as part of your unique pattern, a record of a storm you endured that ultimately made the fabric of your being more complex, more interesting, and stronger in a different way. You are not broken. You are artfully mended. Your value is not diminished by your repairs, it is enhanced by them. The emptiness of the original wound has been transformed into a feature of beauty and resilience. In our next part, we will explore how this understanding of emptiness allows us to engage with the world of action without being consumed by it. Let us drift further into this quiet harbor. The stories are like gentle waves lapping at the shore of your awareness. They rise, they break, they recede. The sand remains, unchanged. Your fundamental awareness is that sand, persistent, receptive, smoothed by the ocean of experience but never carried away by it. Rest as that. We've explored emptiness in loss and repair. Now, let's see how it functions in the midst of conflict and action. How do we move through a world of other people, with their own solid-seeming agendas and emotions, without creating more suffering? Our story is set on the crowded, vibrant waterways of Bangkok. Captain Anong piloted a heavy, slow rice barge up and down the Chao Phraya River. The river was a chaotic dance of long-tail taxis, tourist boats, and other freight barges. Horns blared constantly, curses flew across the water in multiple languages. It was a world of perceived slights and fierce territoriality. Anong, however, was known for his preternatural calm. He never shouted, never shook his fist. He navigated the chaos with a slight, unshakable smile. A young deckhand, Kit, full of youthful fire, was exasperated by this. "That taxi cut you off," he'd yell. "They disrespect you. You must shout back, show you are strong." Anong would just adjust the wheel a degree and say, "Did you see anyone?" One day, a speeding long-tail boat swerved recklessly in front of their barge, forcing Anong to cut engine power sharply. The long-tail driver, a young man with a face twisted in anger, stood up and screamed a stream of insults, shaking his fist at Anong's bridge before racing away. Kit was furious. There. See. He insults you to your face. We should chase him. Anong calmly restarted the engine. Who insulted me? Him. The man in the long tail. I saw a boat, Anong said. A boat moving quickly, with a man making sounds. But tell me, Kit, if you are walking through the forest and a branch, loosened by the wind, falls and hits your shoulder, do you get angry at the branch? No, it's just a branch. It has no mind. And if the wind that loosened it blows in your face, do you curse the wind? Of course not. Anong steered around a floating log. That man in the boat. He was like a branch in the wind. The wind of his own fear, his hurry, his problems at home, his aching back, these blew through him and made him shout. If I shout back, I am just another branch, clacking mindlessly in the storm. I did not take his shout personally, because it was not for me. It was the noise of his own storm. My boat is empty. He tapped his own chest. If I am full of myself, my pride, my right of way, my anger, then his shout hits something solid. It causes a crash inside me. But if I am empty here, the shout passes straight through. No crash. I can see his boat clearly, and avoid it. That is true strength. Not the hardness of a rock that gets chipped, but the emptiness of space that cannot be damaged. Weeks later, Kit saw the same long-tail driver, broken down and adrift. Anong, without a word, maneuvered the heavy barge alongside and threw the young man a line, towing him to safety. The driver, ashamed, could not meet Anong's eyes. Anong simply offered him water. There was no lesson, no, I told you so. The emptiness in Anong had created a space for compassion to naturally arise, where Kit's solid anger would have only built a wall. This is a classic Taoist and Zen teaching exemplified in the parable of the empty boat. Emptiness as non-conflict. Most of our interpersonal suffering arises because we are full boats. We are full of our self-image, our opinions, our sensitivities, our agendas. When another boat, person, bumps into us, it's a clash of solid objects. We feel disrespected, hurt, angry. We must defend our solidity. But if we can cultivate inner emptiness, not being empty of care, but empty of a rigid, defended self, then those bumps happen differently. The other person's behavior is seen as the product of their own causes and conditions, the wind blowing the branch. It is not fundamentally personal. Your empty boat simply adjusts course. The insult passes through. You see the struggle in the other, not the attack on yourself. From that empty, clear space, the appropriate action, which might be setting a firm boundary, or it might be offering help, can arise without the contamination of reactive anger. This is grounded in the psychological concept of differentiation. The ability to separate your own emotional reactions from the emotions of others, and not take everything personally. It is a hallmark of emotional maturity. Anom was perfectly differentiated. He perceived the other's anger without absorbing it into his own emotional system. I struggled with this for years, taking criticism as a personal annihilation. A mentor finally gave me the empty boat analogy. The next time I received harsh feedback, I tried it. Instead of solidifying into a defensive statue, I am a good worker. This is unfair, I imagined myself as an empty boat. The feedback was just weather, wind and rain. It was uncomfortable, but it didn't sink me. It didn't define me. From that emptier, quieter place, I could actually sift the feedback. 80% was their storm, their stress, their communication style, but 20% was useful rain that could help me grow. I could accept the 20% without drowning in the 80%. The practice is the empty boat meditation. When you feel slighted, criticized, or provoked, pause. Feel the solidity of your reaction, the clenched jaw, the heated chest, the story of, how dare they? Now, imagine all that solidity dissolving. Your body becomes hollow like a bamboo tube. Your mind becomes a vast, clear sky. Let the other person's words or actions pass through this hollow, open space like wine through a window. They are not hitting a target. There is no target. From this emptiness, ask, what is really happening here? What is their pain? What, if anything, needs a response? The response, if one comes, will be calmer, wiser, and more effective. Let's try it now. Recall a recent, minor irritation with someone. Feel the solid reaction. Now, breathe into the center of your chest, and on the exhale, imagine that solidity evaporating, leaving a clear, empty cavern. See the other person's action as a leaf blown by the wind of their own life. Let the leaf flutter through the empty cavern of your being and out the other side. Rest in the emptiness left behind. Feel the profound peace of not being at war. This emptiness is not weakness. It is the unassailable strength of the open sky. In our next part, we'll see how this same empty awareness can meet the ultimate change, the ending of a life, and the nature of what remains. Let the stillness deepen. We are moving into realms where words become whispers, and concepts bow to the mystery they can only point toward. There is no need for fear. The same awareness that witnesses a joyful thought also witnesses this quiet contemplation. It is unchanging, safe, your true home. We've seen how emptiness allows us to navigate conflict. Now, let us contemplate the greatest change of all, death. Not as a morbid end, but as the ultimate expression of emptiness and impermanence. How can the understanding of form as emptiness illuminate this? Our story comes from the high, clear deserts of Tibet. In a monastery perched on a Himalayan pass, an old monk named Tenzin was the master of torma, intricate sculptures made of colored butter and barley flour. For weeks before the great festival, he would work in a cold room, his hands numbed, shaping fantastical scenes, flowers, deities, mythical animals, all glistening and vibrant. They were breathtaking works of art. The climax of the festival was not the display, but the dissolution. After being paraded and admired, the sculptures were carried to a high cliff. There, in a solemn ceremony, they were broken apart and scattered into a rushing river below. The crowd would watch as the beautiful forms dissolved into the current, the butter melting, the colors swirling away into the brown water. A Western visitor, attached to the preservation of beauty, was horrified. Why would you destroy such exquisite work? It's a tragedy. Tenzin, his eyes crinkled with kindness, asked, "Where is the tragedy? Is the flower less beautiful because it wilts? Is the rainbow wrong for fading?" He led the visitor to the riverbank the next day, where the last flecks of color had vanished. The beauty was never in the butter's permanent form, Tenzin said. The beauty was in the seeing, in the making, and in the releasing. The form had to be perfect so that its dissolution would be perfect. If we cling to the sculpture, we cling to death, a frozen, decaying thing. By dissolving it, we honor its true nature. It was always water and earth and sunlight, borrowed for a moment to teach us about shape, and then returned. He pointed to the river. The butter nourishes the fish. The flower feeds the insects. The colors are minerals returning to the earth. Nothing is lost. The form is gone, but the elements are engaged in a new dance. We celebrate this. It is the festival of reality. He picked up a handful of river stones, smooth from endless flow. My body is like that sculpture. Your body. One day, it will dissolve. The elements will return. The consciousness, the awareness that animated it, that is like the space in which the sculpture appeared. Does the space die when the sculpture is scattered? No. The space remains, ready to host the next form, the next appearance. We are not the butter. We are the capacity for butter to take shape. The visitor looked from his own hands to the flowing river, and for a moment, his fear of ending softened, replaced by a awe for the endless, empty, fertile ground of being from which all forms arise and to which they return. This story touches the profound teaching of emptiness as the ground of birth and death. In Buddhism, this is the understanding of samsara and nirvana. Samsara is the cycle of birth and death of forms, the endless making and dissolving of butter sculptures. Nirvana is not a heavenly destination, but the recognition of the empty, unborn, undying nature of awareness itself, the space that is never created or destroyed. The form, the body, the personality, the life story, is the temporary sculpture. It is precious, beautiful, to be engaged with fully. But its dissolution is not an error, it is the completion of its nature. The grief we feel is for the loss of the form. But what if we could also sense the continuum of the ground? The awareness that experienced that life does not die, because it was never born. It is the impersonal, empty knowing in which the movie of me plays out. When the movie ends, the screen remains. Modern physics echoes this with the first law of thermodynamics. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, only transformed. The arrangement that is, you, dissipates, but the constituent energy mass continues in other forms. The information, the pattern, may be lost, but the fundamental substrate persists. I was with my grandfather when he died. In his final moments, there was a struggle, a clinging to form, the breath, the heartbeat. And then, a sudden, profound release. The form was still there, but the animation was gone. What struck me was not the absence, but the palpable presence of the space that was left. The room felt vast, quiet, and strangely peaceful. The frantic energy of clinging had ceased, and what remained was pure, empty awareness, not his awareness, but awareness itself. It was as if a complex, beautiful sculpture had been lovingly dismantled, and the gallery was now quiet, open, and full of light. In that moment, I understood Tenzin's festival. Death was not a theft, but a return. The practice here is contemplating the ground. It is not about dwelling on death morbidly, but about familiarizing yourself with the ground of your being so that the inevitable changes of form are less terrifying. In meditation, after observing the forms of thought and sensation, ask, what is it that knows these forms? Don't look for an answer in thought. Feel back into the knowing itself. That silent, aware presence is closer than your breath, more intimate than a thought. It is the scream. Realize that this has been present your whole life, unchanged from childhood to now. It will be present at the moment of death. It is what you are. The forms, young body, old body, happy mind, sad mind, are just the changing butter sculptures displayed upon it. Let's practice this now. Sit quietly. Notice a sensation in your body, perhaps the feeling of your hands. Now, gently shift attention from the sensation itself to the space in which the sensation is known. Feel the boundless, aware space that contains the sensation. Now, think a simple thought, like apple. Notice the thought, and again, feel back to the aware space that knows the thought. This space is birthless and deathless. It is your true nature. Rest here for a few moments, as this empty, knowing ground. The fear of endings belongs to form. You are the emptiness that cannot end. In our next part, we'll bring this understanding back into the vibrancy of daily life, exploring how empty awareness meets the world of art and creation. Let the stillness we've touched become the very air you breathe. There's no longer a seeker and a sought, only this seamless, listening presence. Sounds arise and fade within it. Sensations bloom and dissolve. You are the welcoming silence that holds it all, without preference, without edge. From the contemplation of endings, we return to the heart of creativity. If form is empty, and emptiness is creative potential, then what is the source of true art? Not the crafting of an object, but the channeling of silence into form. Our story unfolds in the jazz-soaked, midnight streets of New Orleans. Elias "Fade" Johnson was a trumpet player whose sound could cut through the thickest humidity. He played with technical fury, packing every measure with cascading runs, complex harmonics, a torrent of sound. Crowds cheered his virtuosity, but the old masters who heard him nodded slowly, hearing something else, a man afraid of silence. One night, after a blistering solo that left him breathless, an ancient piano player named Miss Evangeline beckoned him to her corner table. Her hands, gnarled like cypress roots, rested on her cane. "You play a lot of trumpet, son," she said, her voice a soft rumble. "Thank you, ma'am," Fade said, puffing up slightly. "I didn't say you played a lot of music," she clarified. "I said you play a lot of trumpet. The music, it happens in the spaces your sound ain't filling." Fade was stung. The spaces? The rests? That's just nothing. Miss Evangeline's eyes gleamed. "Is it? You ever listen to the river at night? It ain't the water you hear most. It's the hollow sound it makes flowing over the cypress knees, the gurgle in the eddies where the water ain't. That's the river's song. Your notes are the water. But the music is the shape of the emptiness you let the water flow through." She took him the next evening to a tiny, back-alley club where no one played faster than a slow drag. A clarinetist was on stage. He would play a single, pure, aching note, then hold his instrument still for what felt like an eternity. In that silence, the room changed. The note hung in the air, decaying, blending with the creak of a floorboard, the sigh of a listener. Then, when the silence had become almost unbearable, he'd play the next note, and it would land with the weight of a revelation. Fade felt each note in his bones, not as sound, but as a punctuation of the shared, breathless silence. "He's not playing the clarinet," Miss Evangeline whispered. "He's playing the room. He's playing the silence. The clarinet is just the spoon stirring the soup." Fade's world turned inside out. He went home and for weeks, he didn't play a single note. He practiced listening. He listened to the silence in his apartment, to the gaps in street noise, to his own breath. He discovered that silence wasn't one thing, it was layered, textured, alive. When he next took the stage, he felt a terror deeper than any stage fright, the fear of emptiness. He raised his horn, and instead of attacking, he let the silence of the expectant club gather. He felt its shape. Then, he played one long, middle register note, simple as a streetlight. He held it, then let it fade completely into the hush. He waited. He listened to the note's ghost in the room. Then he played the next. He wasn't playing a song, he was sculpting time with sound and emptiness. The crowd, used to his fireworks, was dead quiet. Then, something broke. Not into applause, but into a collective, deep exhalation. They weren't being entertained, they were being included in a conversation between sound and silence. Fade had finally found the music. He had learned that the power of the note is granted by the emptiness that frames it. This story illustrates emptiness as the essence of art and communication. True artistry doesn't lie in filling all the space, but in a conscious, loving relationship with the empty space. The silence between words is where understanding sinks in. The stillness between movements is where the emotion lands. The blank margins on a page frame the poem. The musician doesn't create music, they curate the interplay between form, sound, and emptiness, silence. Allowing the listener's own mind to complete the circuit, to become a co-creator. This is known in aesthetics as negative space or ma in Japanese art, the intentional, essential emptiness that gives form its power and meaning. A crowded painting is exhausting, one with skillful negative space feels alive and breathing. Fade learned to play the ma. In human communication, this is the power of listening. When you truly listen, you are not just waiting for your turn to fill the air with your sound. You are creating an empty, receptive space, a ma, for the other person's meaning to fully form and land. Your silent attention is an active, creative force. The deepest connections are built in these shared silences. I experienced this writing. For years, I fought writer's block by trying to force words into the emptiness, filling pages with weak, crowded prose. My breakthrough came when I started sitting with the emptiness of the blank page first. I just stare at it, not as a void to be conquered, but as a field of potential. I'd listen to what wanted to emerge from that field. The first word that came was often the right one, and it arrived with space around it. The writing became clearer, simpler, more powerful. I wasn't writing, I was transcribing a conversation between silence and the urge to speak. The practice is to cultivate creative emptiness. In any activity, conversation, work, art, even walking, intentionally create pockets of empty space. Before you speak, pause. Before you write the next sentence, breathe. In a task, take a moment to simply look at your tools, to feel the space of the room. You are not wasting time. You are preparing the ground, like Fade listening to the silence of the club. From this prepared emptiness, action becomes more intentional, communication more resonant, and creation more authentic. Let's practice now. For the next minute, do nothing but listen to the silence underneath the sounds. Hear the gaps. Feel the space in the room, the space in your body. Don't try to change it or fill it. Be the curator of this emptiness. If a thought arises, see it as a single, simple note. Let it fade back into the silence. You are not the thought, nor the silence. You are the awareness that holds the relationship between them. This is the birthplace of all true creativity. In our next part, we'll see how this empty, creative awareness can transform our relationship with a most persistent companion, our own thinking mind. Let awareness settle so deeply now that it feels as if you are listening from behind yourself, from a place before location. The stories and teachings have been like birds flying across the vast sky of your attention. They have come, and they have gone. The sky remains, unchanged, untouched. Rest as this sky mind. We've seen how emptiness relates to sound, art, and endings. Now, we turn to the constant, internal weather, thinking. For most of us, the mind feels solid, personal, and often oppressive, a non-stop radio we can't turn off. What if we've misunderstood its very nature? Our story comes from the windswept plains of Mongolia. On the endless steppe, a young shepherd named Batu was tormented by his thoughts. They looped endlessly, worries about wolves, anxieties over drought, regrets about past mistakes, rehearsals for future conversations. His mind was a crowded, noisy yurt, and he was trapped inside with the clamor. He sought advice from an old nomadic woman, Śūnyatā, who was said to understand the language of the wind. He found her sitting perfectly still, facing the horizon, her eyes closed. "Grandmother," he said, "my mind will not be quiet. It is like a trapped bird, beating against my skull. How do I silence it?" Śūnyatā did not open her eyes. "Why would you silence the wind?" she asked. "It's not the wind, it's my thoughts. They are mine. They are me." "Are they?" she said. "Sit. Close your eyes. Do not try to silence anything. Just tell me, what is the wind saying right now?" Bhatta sat, frustrated. He heard the constant sigh over the grass, a higher whistle past his ear. "It's just noise," he said. "It says nothing." "Now," Śūnyatā said softly, "tell me what your thoughts are saying right now." Bhatta listened inside. "This is pointless. She's crazy. I should be watching the sheep. What if a wolf comes? They are saying this is pointless, that you're crazy, that I should be." Śūnyatā held up a hand, cutting him off. "You reported the wind as noise. You reported your thoughts as meaningful messages, personally for you. But you used the same voice for both. The hearing is the same. The wind makes vibrations in the air, which your ear turns into sound. Your brain makes vibrations of memory and fear, which your awareness turns into thought. One you call the world. The other you call me. Why?" Bhatta was silent, stunned. "The thoughts are just weather in the sky of your mind," she continued. "You do not own the wind. Why do you own the worry? The wind is not for you. It just blows. The worry is not you. It just arises. When you stop claiming the thoughts as mine, you can hear them as clearly and impersonally as you hear this wind. They lose their power to frighten you. They are just sounds in the mind sky. Some are pleasant bird calls. Some are harsh storms. The sky holds them all, but is not damaged by any." She opened her eyes and looked at him. "Your task is not to silence the wind. Your task is to stop living inside the small, stuffy gur of my thoughts. Step outside. Be the whole, boundless step. Be the sky that holds the wind. Then, the wind can blow, and it is just a part of the great, beautiful, empty expanse that you are." From that day, when anxiety arose, Bhatta would literally step outside his jar. He would feel the vast space, see the enormous sky, and then feel the corresponding vastness inside. The thought would still be there, wolf, but it was now a small cloud in an immense sky, not a monster in a confined tent. He could then take practical action, check the flock, from a place of spacious clarity, not from a prison of panic. This is the core meditation teaching, emptiness as the nature of mind. Thoughts are not solid, personal possessions. They are ephemeral events that arise and pass in the open space of awareness, just like sounds arise and pass in the space of a room. The suffering comes from identifying with the thoughts, I am anxious. Rather than recognizing awareness itself, anxiety is present. In mindfulness-based therapies, this is called diffusion, learning to see thoughts as just thoughts, not truths or commands. You learn to say, I am having the thought that I am a failure, which creates a tiny but crucial space between you and the thought. That space is emptiness. It is the sky that allows you to see the cloud as a cloud, not as the whole reality. My own meditation practice began as a battle to silence the wind. It was exhausting and futile. The shift came when a teacher gave me the exact instruction Sarnai gave Batu: don't try to stop the thoughts. Just notice them as if they were sounds outside the window. The first time I truly did this, it was a revolution. A thought, you're wasting your time, arose. Instead of wrestling with it, I simply noted, thinking. I heard it with the same quality of attention I'd give to a dog barking down the street. It lost its sting. It was just another event in the field of awareness. In that moment, I was the field, not the thought. That was my first taste of mental emptiness, and it felt like freedom. The practice is sky-gazing meditation. Sit quietly. Instead of focusing on your breath or a mantra, let your awareness be as wide and open as the sky. Let thoughts, feelings, and sensations appear like weather in this sky: clouds, thoughts, lightning flashes, sharp emotions, sunshine, pleasure, rain, sadness. Don't follow the weather. Don't analyze it. Just be the sky, the vast, open, unchanging space that allows all weather to pass through. Notice that no matter how stormy it gets, the sky itself is never torn, never damaged. You are that sky. Let's practice now. Imagine your awareness expanding in all directions, becoming boundless. Feel it as infinite, open space. Now, notice a thought. See it as a wisp of cloud forming in one tiny corner of this vast sky. It has a shape, it moves, it will dissolve. It is not the sky. You are the sky. Do this with the next sensation, the next sound. See them all as transient weather in the space of you. Rest as this sky mind. This is your natural state, before the clutter of personal story. It is empty, peaceful, and free. In our next part, we'll bring this sky-like awareness into the realm of feeling, exploring how to meet intense emotions with the same spacious, empty wisdom. Let the sky mind you've touched become the very ground of your being. There's a softness here, a willingness to let everything be as it is. No need to change a single cloud. No need to direct the wind. Just this infinite, gentle holding. We've seen thoughts as weather in the sky. Now, we turn to the more visceral domain, emotions. Feelings can feel so solid, so overwhelming, a tidal wave that threatens to drown the sense of I. How does emptiness meet this? Our story comes from the land of 1,000 lakes, Finland. In a village where winter locked the world in silent white, Alina was known for her avanto, the practice of swimming in a hole cut in the lake ice. People thought it was about endurance, about conquering the shocking cold. For Alina, it was about something else entirely. Each morning, she would chop open the rectangle of black water. Before entering, she would sit on the wooden platform, her feet dangling in the freezing water, and she would do nothing but feel. Not just the cold, but whatever emotion was strongest in her that day. Grief, after her mother passed. Anxiety, over her son's future. Joy, for the morning sun on snow. She would feel it fully, a solid, burning mass in her chest. Then, she would slip into the water. The shock was absolute. And in that moment, something always happened. The solid mass of emotion didn't disappear, but it dispersed. It lost its hard edges and its centralized location. The intense grief became a tingling, vibrant cold that touched every cell simultaneously. It was no longer her grief sitting in her heart, it was a quality of the entire experience of being alive in that frozen moment. The emotion was still present, but it was no longer a separate, solid thing she was carrying. It had become one with the sensation of the water, the light, the air in her lungs. It had been emptied of its story and returned to pure, raw sensation. Her grandson, Eidos, a boy prone to fiery tantrums, once followed her. He was furious over a petty injustice at school, a hard, hot ball of rage in his small chest. "Grandmother, how do I make it stop?" he pleaded, tears of frustration freezing on his cheeks. Alina didn't offer advice. She simply said, "Sit with me. Feel the rage." "Where is it?" "In my stomach. It's burning." "Good," she said. "Now, put your hands in the water." He did, gasping at the cold. "Now," she instructed gently, "feel the cold in your hands. Really feel it. And feel the rage in your stomach. Feel them both at the same time." Eidos focused, his brow furrowed. For a moment, there was just the shocking, bright pain of cold in his hands and the dull, hot pain of anger in his gut. Two separate sensations. Then, as he held them both in awareness, a strange thing happened. They began to talk to each other. The intense cold gave the anger a reference point, it was just another kind of intensity. The anger's heat seemed to soften the cold's bite. They weren't two separate enemies, they were two experiences happening in the same field of his body. "The water doesn't fight the cold," Alina whispered. "It is the cold. Your awareness doesn't have to fight the feeling. It can be the space that holds the feeling. When you make the space big enough, like this lake, the feeling has room to be what it is, without needing to explode. It can just be cold water." Eidos sat for a long time, his hands numb, his anger quieted into a kind of awe. He hadn't defeated his rage. He had given it a larger context. He had dissolved its solidity in the vast, cold lake of present moment sensation. This story demonstrates emptiness as the space for emotion. An emotion becomes suffering when it is felt as a solid, monolithic object that fills our entire identity. I am angry. But when we can meet it with spacious, empty awareness, the emotion is desolidified. It becomes a dynamic pattern of energy, sensation, and thought moving through the open space of our being. Like salt dissolving in a vast lake, it's still present, but it no longer dominates the flavor of the water. In trauma therapies like somatic experiencing, a key principle is to not let a traumatic sensation or emotion become bound and trapped as a solid, frozen block in the nervous system. The healing is in gently allowing the bound energy to pendulate, to move and flow within the safe container of the body and awareness. This container is the empty, lake-like space that Alina cultivated. I used this during a period of intense anxiety that felt like a metal band around my chest. Fighting it made it tighter. One day, remembering Alina's metaphor, I lay down and placed my attention not on the anxiety, but on the space around it in my body. I felt the calm of my feet, the neutrality of my ears. I made my inner lake bigger. Then, I allowed the band of anxiety to exist within that vastness. I didn't try to melt it. I just gave it room. Slowly, its solid, threatening quality diminished. It became more like a specific, intense vibration in a larger field of calm. It was still uncomfortable, but it was no longer me. It was a storm over one part of the lake, and I was the whole lake. The emptiness contained it. The practice is lake meditation. Sit or lie comfortably. Imagine your body and mind as a deep, still, freshwater lake. The surface may be stirred by wind, thoughts, but the depths are calm and clear. Now, bring to mind a current, difficult emotion. Located in the body. See it not as you, but as a patch of temperature in the lake. Perhaps a warm stream of anger, a cold current of fear. Don't try to change its temperature. Just acknowledge its presence as a feature of the lake. Now, feel the rest of the lake, the vast, cool, silent water surrounding this patch. You are the entire lake, holding this variation within your wholeness. The emotion is contained, permitted, but no longer defining. Breathe as the whole lake. Let's try this now. Identify a subtle feeling present in this moment: tiredness, calm, anticipation. Feel its location and texture. Now, expand your felt sense to include your whole body, the space around you, as a single, spacious container. Let the feeling be a small region within this container. Breathe into the spaciousness, not the feeling. Rest as the container. This is emotional emptiness, not the absence of feeling, but the presence of a space so large and accepting that no feeling can overwhelm it. In our next part, we'll see how this empty, lake-like capacity allows us to engage in the world of action and service without burning out. The space we are cultivating is no longer just an idea. It is becoming a lived reality, a felt sense. There is a quiet fullness to this emptiness, like a bell that has just finished ringing. The form of the sound is gone, but the air still hums with its passing. Rest in this humming stillness. We've explored how emptiness meets internal experience. Thoughts and feelings. Now, let's see its application in the realm of action, service, and engagement with the world. How do we give without being drained? How do we act without being consumed by the role? Our story is set in the ceaseless, compassionate chaos of a Kolkata hospice. Margaret had been a palliative care nurse for 30 years. Her days were a symphony of pain management, whispered comfort, bed baths, and final breaths. Her colleagues marveled at her endurance, her seemingly infinite compassion. "How do you not burn out?" they would ask. "How do you carry all this suffering?" Margaret's secret was in her morning ritual. Before her shift, she would go to the small staff kitchen, brew a single cup of strong, sweet tea, and sit alone for 10 minutes. But she wouldn't drink it. She would place the full cup on the table, and she would simply look at it. She would imagine the day ahead. The patients, the families, the tasks, and she would visualize placing each anticipated concern, each personal worry, each ounce of her identity as Margaret the nurse, into that cup. Her skill, her fatigue, her desire to fix, her fear of failure, her own history of loss, all of it went into the tea. Then, she would stand up, leave the full cup on the table, and walk onto the ward. A new volunteer, Anika, fresh with idealism, noticed this odd habit. One difficult day, after they had lost a beloved patient, Anika found Margaret in the kitchen, staring at a fresh, untouched cup. "Margaret," Anika said, tears in her eyes, "how do you bear it? I feel so heavy. I feel like I'm absorbing all the pain." Margaret gestured to the chair opposite. "Do you see this cup?" she asked. "Yes." "You never drink it." "Exactly. This cup is my heart, my mind, my self for the day. If I go onto the ward carrying it full of my skills, my empathy, my opinions, my sorrow, then there is no room left to receive what is actually there. I am too full of Margaret to truly meet the patient. And worse, every painful thing I encounter gets added to the cup, until it overflows, and that is burnout." She pushed the cup to the center of the table. "But if I leave my full cup here, I walk onto the ward empty. Not empty of care, but empty of me. I am just awareness. Just presence. Then, when I meet Mr. Chatterjee in bed 4, I am not Margaret the nurse here to fix you. I am simply a space for his experience, his pain, his memories, his fears. I can receive it completely, because my own cup is not in the way. The compassion that arises is not my compassion struggling to fill a need. It is the natural, intelligent response of empty awareness to the suffering before it. It is effortless. At the end of the shift, I come back. The cup is still here, cold now. I pour it out. The me I left here dissolves down the drain. Nothing sticks." Anika was silent, understanding dawning. "So you don't carry it home?" "I don't carry a self home," Margaret corrected gently. "I carry experience, yes. But it is not stuck to a me. It flows through. The cup is always empty at the start and empty at the end. Only the tea, the temporary, bittersweet content of the day, flows through. This is the essence of emptiness as selfless service, or karma yoga. It is the practice of acting without attachment to the actor. When we perform an action, especially a caring, demanding, or righteous action, we often fill it with our ego, our need to be the hero, our fear of being inadequate, our identity as the helper. This full cup creates burnout because every interaction adds weight to an already burdened self. But if we can learn to leave our cup on the table, to act from a place of empty, mindful presence, the dynamic changes. The action becomes clean, precise, and sustainable. Compassion becomes a situational response, not a personal commodity we deplete. We are like a clear window, the light of awareness passes through unobstructed to meet the need, and no stain is left on the glass. This is supported by research on compassion fatigue versus compassion satisfaction. Those who identify over-personally with their helping role, I am the only one who can help, their pain is my failure, are prone to burnout. Those who can maintain mindful detachment, seeing the suffering without being engulfed by it, maintaining a sense of spacious awareness, find their work sustainable and even nourishing. They have learned to keep their cup empty. I saw this in a master teacher I once observed. He commanded a chaotic classroom not by the force of his personality, but by its absence. He wasn't the authority imposing order. He was a calm, empty center. His instructions were clear, his boundaries firm, but they seemed to emerge from the needs of the moment itself, not from a fraught ego defending its control. The children settled because his emptiness gave them nothing to push against, and everything to settle into. He had left his teacher cup outside the door. The practice is the empty cup ritual. Before engaging in a demanding task or interaction, a work project, a caregiving session, a difficult conversation, take a moment. Visualize a cup. Into it, pour all your preconceptions, your desired outcomes, your fears, your egoic attachment to the role. See it fill. Then, consciously set it down. Imagine leaving it behind. Now, enter the situation empty. Be pure, receptive attention. Listen. See. Respond from what is needed there, not from what is stored in your cup. Afterward, mentally retrieve the cup and pour it out, releasing the identity you temporarily assumed. You are not the role, you are the awareness that played the role. Let's practice this now. Think of a role you often play, professional, parental, social. Feel the weight of that identity, its expectations and anxieties. Now, visualize placing all of that into a vessel and setting it aside. For just these next few minutes, be nobody. Be awareness itself, without a title, without a history related to that role. Feel the lightness of this emptiness. From this empty space, if you had to perform one small action in that role, what would it be? It would likely be simpler, clearer, and kinder, because it would be free of the story. This is the power of selfless action. In our final part, we will gather all these threads, of capacity, clarity, nature, release, and service, into a simple, culminating understanding of the peace that is already here. Here we are. At the end of our words and the beginning of everything else. Let any sense of reaching or arriving fall away now. There is nowhere to go, nothing to become. All the stories, all the teachings, were just fingers pointing at the moon. Now, let's look at the moon itself. Not the concept, but the direct, wordless experience of this, here, now. What is it, right now, that is aware? Before the answer forms in thought, feel it. This aware presence, open, silent, and knowing, is what you have always been. It was there when you were a child, it is here now as you listen, and it will be there in your last conscious moment. It is the one thing in your experience that has never changed, never been born, and will never die. It is inherently empty of any characteristic, yet full of the capacity to know the entire universe. This is the peace of the already empty. Our final story is not a parable from a distant land, but an invitation to see the story of your own life through this lens. Look at your own hands. See them not as solid, permanent things, but as temporary gatherings of stardust, shaped by eons of cosmic evolution, by your ancestry, by the food you've eaten, the work you've done. They are a flowing process, not a frozen object. They are empty of a separate, fixed self, yet vividly, functionally here. This form is emptiness. Feel the weight of your body on the chair or bed. That pressure is not separate from the support beneath you. The boundary between you and the support is a convenient idea, but in direct sensation, there is only pressure, only touch, only a seamless field of sensation. The sense of a separate self is a thought superimposed on this unity. This is emptiness's form. Listen to the sounds around you. They arise in awareness, play their brief melody, and vanish back into silence. You are not the sounds. You are not even the listener as a thing. You are the hearing itself, the open, empty space in which the entire symphony of the world appears and disappears. This is your original mind, the mirror that has never been stained. Notice a thought. It pops up, unbidden, like a bubble from the deep. You did not create it. It simply arrived. Can you find the thinker before the thought? You cannot. There is only the thought, and then the awareness of the thought. The thinker is just another thought, appearing in the same awareness. This is the sky mind, holding the weather of thought without being it. Feel an emotion. A flicker of peace, a trace of weariness, a hint of anticipation. Don't name it. Just feel its texture as pure energy in the body. It is not yours. It is a passing climate in the landscape of your being. You are the landscape, not the climate. This is the lake, holding the temperature of feeling. Remember a worry about tomorrow. See it as a story, a string of words and images projected onto the empty screen of the future. The screen itself, your present awareness, is untouched by the dramatic movie playing upon it. You can care about the content without confusing yourself with the actor. This is the chamber of maybe, holding all stories lightly. In this simple noticing, the seeker dissolves. There is no one who needs to get emptiness. There is only this. Awareness, effortlessly aware of itself and its ever-changing content. Peace is not a state to achieve when problems end. Peace is the fundamental nature of this aware space, within which problems are perceived. It is already here. It is the emptiness that you are. As you move from this listening into sleep or back into the flow of your life, carry not the concepts but this simple felt orientation. When overwhelmed, be the sky, not the storm. Feel the vast empty space of awareness that holds the turbulence. When clinging, be the lake, not the water. Let experiences flow through your open presence without grabbing or pushing. When acting, be the empty cup. Offer your skills and care from a place of selfless presence, not a burdened identity. When suffering, be the mended net. Honor the breaks as openings for new patterns of wisdom and resilience. Always in all ways, be the mirror. Simply reflect what is without judgment, without clinging, without fear. This reflective clarity is your true home. You have never been separate from this emptiness. You have only been distracted by the fascinating, sometimes painful, forms dancing within it. The forms are life. Love them, engage with them, be kind to them. But never forget what you are, the empty, loving awareness that gives them space to be. Thank you for sharing this journey into silence and understanding here at Monk's Temple. May you rest deeply in the peace that has been here all along. Sleep well. Be at peace.